Childhood trauma, as you know, I specialize in childhood trauma, which is the gateway drug. I've always said that. Validation and approval. A lot of us grow up in traumatic houses, dysfunctional houses, suffering childhood trauma.
Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
This is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast. And Flindt, we're kicking off the first of our expert series. We're going to try to do these once a month where we get a round table going of just people we love and adore. And of course, the gentleman behind the Neuro Hero Conference would help if I worded that right. Of course, Dr. Robb Kelly, you've maybe heard him, seen him here before on the podcast. And of course, Adam Jablin as well. Welcoming you gentlemen back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it.
Well, and hey, I mean, I just wanted to talk with you guys because I love this. We're taking the tools learned from recovery and, of course, the just a brilliant work you guys are doing and looking to help people in a totally different way. I when I heard about this, I was overjoyed. Two of my favorite guys. You both know you've meant a lot to me. And it's that taking what we have and going beyond the rooms and really just using these tools to help people. What inspired you guys to get together, which I love it.
Amen. Dr. Robb, you want to take a stab at that and then I'll follow you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, me and Adam, we've known each other for about 3 years now. And we met online when somebody asked me to speak. We've been down, we've worked with patients together, vice versa. It's just been a great trip. And you know me, guys, from previous talks. I don't associate with anybody in the industry just because I think they're just a bunch of crap. Okay, I'm gonna put a disclaimer in there. 90% of them are, they're just after the money. But I met Adam, we got on really well, and we kind of brainstormed this idea of what if, we put on one of these conferences in Boca Raton, and let's see how it goes, because we have so much knowledge between us, and we're both very, very successful businessmen. But the biggest thing we have in common, I think, is we like to help each other, and we like to help others as well. So yeah, that's how it came across.
Yeah, Jason. So I got to hear Dr. Robb speak, and at the time, my career was taking off, and I knew what I was good at, and I knew where I needed help, and I met a gentleman that truly needed Dr. Robb's help. My coaching would only take him so far. And I called Dr. Robb, introduced myself, let him know what was going on. And he said, I'd be willing to help if you stay on as the coach. Well, we took that model and we did it with so many people through Dr. Robb's Neuro Hero, neuroscience, and plus his own recovery and his own therapies, coaching, past trauma. I mean, Dr. Robb's has the whole thing, and me taking people through their hero's journey, and it was a success. Then the pandemic slowed down. Dr. Robb was being asked to speak on stages over here, and I'm being asked to speak on stages over there. And we're like, what are we doing? Let's do this together. So it was time. It was almost as if we were being pushed together.
Life has a really wonderful way, and I think it goes to show, too, especially Flindt, back me up here, when you're authentic in your living, and especially with gentlemen like us who our adversity, our addiction thrusted us into some things, and we pulled through that. Really, the hero's journey. I've been on it with you, Adam. Full disclosure, Adam and I do work together on a regular basis, and it's just a beautiful thing when we get to authentically take that and put it out there to move others forward. Because it's really kind of what we get to leave, I think, our mark. Because we ain't taking none of this shit with us when we go to meet our maker.
No, I look, guys, first of all, I have the utmost respect for both of you. And one of the reasons why is that authenticity, and I think that comes with all of us that do what we do because we love it so. But it's authenticity in our daily lives, but it's also authenticity when we are speaking to others, and not necessarily the addict or the person in recovery. I'm talking about the family members as well. People can detect bullshit right out of the gate. Most people can. And again, do people agree with a lot of what I have to say? Does everybody? No. but that's okay. But the one thing they do know is that I'm speaking the truth, just like you gentlemen are. You're speaking the truth. The care is there. They know where our hearts are. They know where your hearts are. And that is what is important. So for those that don't understand or even agree with what I say, that's okay. As long as they know I'm telling them the truth, or I'm speaking truth about this, I'm okay with it, and they're okay with it. So
that's what it's all about. I think it's about experience. If you've got the experience, you can talk. If you've got the knowledge, I mean, Adam's been through so many courses and educated with what he does, and the same with me. I mean, the powerhouses come together. And one thing I like about what we both do is, yeah, we've got business to run, but we don't do this for the money. We do this purely to help other people. And I know the conference is going to be huge. It's only limited to 100 people. Tickets are on sale already. And I think it was about 9 sponsorship vendors there. So it is going to be amazing. We're just going to pull all our knowledge, our experience and all our love out to the audience. And we're going to educate, we're going to inspire. And Adam and I have said on occasions that you're going to come in there, one person, and you're going to walk out the rest. Adam says it best. You're going to walk in Clark Kent, you're going to walk out Superman. And we truly believe that. We're passionate about that stuff. This is not going to be your run-of-the-mill conference where you spend most of the time speaking to others. You're going to get educated. You're going to be sent out on your own journey, your hero's journey. You're going to realize what the neuroscience behind this is, and that quantum physics backs us up, as you can achieve anything you want to achieve. And people, I say that so many times, when people go, oh, yeah, I agree. But they don't really understand that when they go back home, back into their own lifestyle, and the pattern takes over again, then they forget about our words. With this weekend coming up, the Friday and Saturday, we're going to implant, we're going to change and rewire brains. Going to walk out a different person, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, I'm not picking on anybody in particular here, but there are organizations out there, and there's this one in particular. And again, but behind them are all good intentions. But they have this one little what was it? Event that they invited the community, and basically it was just some students that showed up for this thing. But we had representation there, let's put it that way. And because I wanted to know what they were doing. And, they never had, I mean, it was all pretty basic stuff, right? I mean, just basic stuff. Then they were talking about harm reduction, those kinds of things, but they didn't have a Q&A afterwards. Even when I had somebody go up and ask them a question afterwards, they couldn't answer the questions. So I guess my point is not a lot of people, but for those that are out there that want to help, sometimes their wanting to help is not giving the good help that's needed, because they really don't know. They don't have the experience. They don't have it behind them. And sometimes that's harming people even more so.
There are 2 things I like to bring up when you just mentioned about harming people, right? And why I love Dr. Robb, guys. So one is Dr. Silkworth from the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the other one is Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor is this guy, you can look him up, and he's really, really famous for basically taking the book Think and Grow Rich and extending it out to the world even greater. And one of his biggest questions were, how come I read this book, I get all the information from it, I can apply it, and I have wealth upon wealth. And majority of people that read this book, nothing changes. They just get the information, right? What I love about having Dr. Robb is you're going to get the science behind it, which makes people feel comfortable. As a matter of fact, Bill Wilson and no matter what you think of the 12-step program, it saved a lot of lives. Yep. Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, who were the frontiers of this, they want to make sure that they had Dr. Silkworth within the book, because a doctor's opinion means so much. So I can give testimonial in the hero's journey all day, but when you have a doctor backing this up with the neuroscience and showing you how to rewire your brain, you walk out and it actually stays. It wasn't just a rah-rah speech. You're putting this into your nervous system. I'm super excited.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top-quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50-plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt Andersen and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment. To begin the process of recovery, to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Well, and I think that's the most valuable part in, bringing up 12 steps or whatever it is. And we deal with a lot of newcomers. And for a lot of people coming to see you gentlemen and everyone else is going to be there, a newcomer to a new mindset, and it's the importance of application. You can't just take this stuff and go, great, I've heard it, and there you go. I mean, Adam, I've gotten a wonderful ass chewing from you with full of love, but if I didn't listen to what you were saying when I spilled myself out there to you, and then and if I gave you the middle finger and kept stepping, shit ain't going to change.
Right.
You got to actually apply this. You got to take these tools that we have and knowledge from others and apply it. That's why you seek mentors.
And that's why all the time, exactly like you said, Jay, it's passing this information on to people who don't truly understand what their identity is. They don't really understand how strong they are. As childhood trauma, as you know, I specialize in childhood trauma, which is the gateway drug. I've always said that. Validation and approval. A lot of us grow up in traumatic houses, dysfunctional houses, suffering childhood trauma, even the slightest thing, like mom goes to work every day and never sees the sun, abandonment from the sun. But it's looking at that and bringing it forward in you as you go along your hero's journey, making you realize that it will show you a video. It's neuropathways for success, for health, for wealth are already built inside our heads, would you believe? Mm-hmm. Live video coming up at the conference. What we do is then flailing neuropathways. This is the solid one. It's actually thicker. Solid neuropathways, let's say wealth or health. Flailing, I don't know, maybe, I'm not good enough, bang. We connect them. We'll connect it live on stage. And then we'll explain after you the journey, the hero's journey you'll be going on. But for me, and Adam, if you can't do that, then we're just jumping on a stage shouting, everyone wants to be a millionaire and, stuff. And I was sick of them rah-rah conferences, to be honest. And I'm sure, like you said, Jay, with the best interest at heart the guy's got. But let's get down to what's going on here. Let's get down to how competent you can be. Let's get down to the real hero inside you, because everybody's got it, whether it's to your daughter, your son, your wife, your work, your thousands, millions of people watching you, whatever the case may be. You need to realize today might be one of those days, because we just go through our week and our days. And I don't know about you guys, but days and weeks fly by, man. It's like, what can you do today? During the weekend, what can you do today to change your life? And more importantly, what can you do today, that'll be on the Friday, to change somebody else's life? Yep. And once we get that going, dopamine's released into the brain, which is the good feel chemical, and away we go. It's win-win situations. We have 4 chemicals every day that need to happen every single day: endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. If all them 4 chemicals are not produced in the brain, you're not going to be happy. And this is something we're going to explain further at the conference, is if you have 3 of them, no. What happens these days is we get depressed, and what happens? A friend says, go to the doctor. So you go to the doctor, he gives you an SSR, which is a slow release serotonin, and off you go. Now you're tied to that drug for the rest of your life. Yeah. Okay. Now it makes you feel back to normal. Why isn't anybody asking the question why my serotonin is low in the first place? Right. See, this is what we're missing. It's education behind this. Is you can't, for me, if things like Suboxone and stuff, great taper. I love it as a taper. Yes. But you can't stay it for the rest of your life and expect to get well. I mean, you can't do it. So what we're going to teach you is not only about drugs and alcohol and success and your journey, and now you can scientifically be a success. I mean, it's 100% guaranteed. And the hero after that journey that takes you out of there. So you're not coming in rah-rahing for 2 days. Adam's going to teach you how to go on and be that hero of your own journey. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable, man. And I would not do this. I love you guys, by the way, but I would not do this with anybody else apart from Adam Jablin. And you'll never see me partnering with anybody else. That's why I'm excited about the conference.
Guys, by the way, real fast, just to share with you, and I'm not trying to do a complimentary series, but I'm also a testimonial. You know, I was going through a divorce, and I was on 100 milligrams of Zoloft when I was in rehab. And by the way, I needed it. I needed an SSRI. I had chemically hurt my brain from alcohol and drugs, and to bridge me into recovery, it was time for me to get on an SSRI. Well, at 15 years, Dr. Robb challenged me on that and helped me come off of an SSRI, which, by the way, it took a lot of courage because your brain was used to that. So not only am I partners with somebody that I consider like a big brother and a friend, but I'm a testimonial.
Right.
I'm a testimonial.
Right. You know, Dr. Robb, you said something that was really interesting. You were talking about Suboxone, and again, you can throw methadone into this category as well. God, it was so important what you just said, because I think there's a lot of people out there, and this is where I have a big bitch around these other folks. They're suggesting that we leave people on. First of all, they're letting people know almost subconsciously, by keeping you on Suboxone for the rest of your life, they're telling you can't do it. They're telling the person that wants to be in recovery, you're never going to be able to get completely clean and sober and stay that way. But I think there's another reason why they promote so much Suboxone use. A lot of these folks have lost children to this horrible disease, and they're saying, let's put these people on because we just don't want them to die.
Yeah, I like that as well. That's beautiful. What we don't know about what happens with stuff like that, if we don't taper and come off, is the anterior cingulate cortex is damaged, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex is damaged, and the hippocampus is damaged. So we show up less than. We show up, like when people go to the rooms, they show up nervous, they don't think they're anybody, they're quiet. That's because parts of your brain are being underactive because of either the drinking alcohol, drugs, or childhood trauma. So that's the way you come in. Taking drugs on top of that. Listen, the brain doesn't know the difference between a pharmaceutical drug and a street drug. It doesn't know the difference. Right. Are you kidding me? You know, so let's taper off this stuff. Beautiful. I've got no problems with that. But guys, if you stay on it, you're only operating at 25% of your capability. I'm telling you that as a fact, as we've tried and tested this over the last 6 or 7 years. Okay, you need to start operating at 100%. That's why God put us on this earth. What is your niche in life? How can you operate at the best possible way? How can we get oxygen inside you? How can we get more raw foods inside you where big different parts of the central nervous system of the brain is actually generating at 100%? And then what happens from there is you start to believe that you're good enough and you find your own identity, which we're going to do again on the weekend. We're going to show you who you are and you find your own identity. When we do that with the understanding of the neuroscience behind that central nervous system and the childhood trauma, you cannot fail. You can't. You just can't fail. It's impossible. So when you leave us, you don't think we're going to keep in touch with you? You don't think you're going to emails and text us, checking where you are, what you're doing? Why aren't you not doing this? Because if you just want to come along and sit there just for the sake of it, guys, it's not for you. This conference is not for you. This is not a filling seat. If you want to change, permanently change, we're talking about permanently recovery, permanently changed, permanently successful. If you want to be there things, then this is the conference for you.
Right. Adam, I didn't know that about you. Good flex, Dr. Robb, because I'm
a great flex, right?
Because I'm going to ask.
I do this and it goes like this. You know, I mean,
I'm getting there. It's coming a little bit. I mean, I'm built like pipe cleaners. What do you want? That's just how I am. I'm going to look more like Michael Jordan in good shape than I am Arnold Schwarzenegger ever. But Adam, I didn't know that you are an SSRI. I want to ask you more about your hero's journey in that process of building identity. Like Dr. Robb said, it's a tough thing. We get a lot of newcomers listening to this, and that idea of identity scares the hell out of them. I know it did me. I didn't know who the hell I was without a drink.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Let me also, if it's okay, I would like to back up. You know,
Sure,
we
sure.
what I love about Dr. Robb, I see things kind of like in movies or pictures, right? Dr. Robb to me is like the greatest mix of, you know how Bruce Banner is the most articulate guy, but he'll turn into the Hulk. But also he's got a way of Rob Williams in Good Will Hunting. And when you put those two people together, Dr. Robb has a delivery that just cracks through any code because he can speak to you the science, but he can break you through. And Jason, as much as you said that I never saw myself tough on you. I almost saw myself more as a Mr. Miyagi. You know what I mean? And you were like, wipe the floor. You know what I mean?
You were asking me to wash the cars.
Wash the cars, but the reason was through the outcome, which is when I start throwing punches, I wanted you to be able to deflect, to protect yourself. I don't ever believe in ass chewing anybody. I wanted you to be able to step into that ring with courage. So the hero's journey, right? And we can just use that thing with the SSRI and with what Dr. Robb helped me with and what we help with other people with. It's three basic parts. It's the separation, right? So you're separating from either that home, you're maybe separating from a drug or a drink, but there's you're separating from what makes you comfortable. Separation. Then there's the initiation. This is where you're going to start getting all the tools and the skills. This is where Dr. Robb and I come in. And this is all the old wise mentor. This is where Obi-Wan Kenobi steps in, where Morpheus steps in, where Superman meets his father, where, you start realizing that Batman needs Alfred, but you get the old wise mentor to come through, which is what Dr. Robb also did for me with the SSRI. And then there's always on the hero's journey, the return. So Dr. Robb and I don't want to build somebody up and then they come home and they're like, what the fuck do I need you for? I'm great. And then they get divorced. There's always the return home in a form of leadership, in a form of that they feel confident and comfortable in their own skin, right? And that arc of a story, you'll see within the 12 steps, you'll see within the New Testament, you'll see within the Old Testament, but then you put the science behind it. And it's heavenly. Because that's what people really want to do. They want to feel like the hero of their own story. And then if we apply it right, they get to be the older, wiser mentor. They get to pass that information on.
And I want to put a disclaimer in there real quick, guys. I'm not telling anybody to come off meds. I'm not saying that. I say, why aren't we asking the question? That's all. So if you're taking depression meds, guys, stay on it. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm only, well, I say only, I've got 2 PhDs, but I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just saying, why aren't we asking the question? Okay, guys. So I don't want you to think that Dr. Robb said, come off all the medication. And no. Just why aren't we asking the question? Everything inside us, our brain, our body, heals from the inside. A lot of things can be healed, but pharmaceutical companies, as we know, run the United States of America, probably the world, but more in the USA. And, I just think that there's a better life out there. Because I meet people that are on Suboxone or anti this, anti that, depression meds, and it's just that the more stuff gets inside you, the less likely you are going to be yourself. You lose your identity to certain drugs, and it dampens the brain, and therefore you cannot reach the potential that you need to reach. Because guys, if you're listening to this and thinking, I don't know if I can do it, it's not about you. This isn't about you. This is about you getting to a place where you can go on and help others. That's what it's about. So if you are sat at home and you are thinking you're never going to be good enough, never going to be able to do anything, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there. We are born with $1 million minds. Why are you still hanging around 10-cent minds? Right. Get up and go. Yeah, you who's sat in the corner of his one-bedroom apartment thinking he's nothing. You can earn hundreds of millions of dollars if you put your mind to it. And if you get with them 9 successful people, you will become the 10th. Get with that mix, get out the pond where you've always been fishing and get into the new pond that's going to take you to a different level.
Yeah. Guys, I want to kind of throw a little different take into this just for a second, because I really value your opinions and I want your opinion on this. We're dealing now with a lot of lawmakers in Sacramento, which is our capital, We're dealing a lot with the fentanyl issue. Of course, I'm all over Sacramento about treatment and how I keep informing these people that our treatment system is broken, and it is. And in my opinion, basic treatment has to be split into two categories. One are the people that have insurances and can afford a cash price for a treatment facility. Then there's those that can't, or they have governmental aid insurances. So the county-run system programs are, at least in California, are definitely broken, totally broken all the way down the line. But here's my point to that. These lawmakers are not listening to any of us. They're asking all the wrong questions, if they're asking any questions at all, and they're not asking the right people. And again, we're not looking for I don't even know how to put this, because they're asking, how do you fix this problem? And of course, I keep coming back saying, well, it starts with getting people the proper treatment and the proper therapy and the proper counseling and whatever else that's going to take. So until those systems can be put into place, we're still going to be that hamster on in the cage on the wheel that's just going to keep spinning around, in my opinion. So how do we, because I own a private treatment center as well, how do we get these lawmakers, the people that are really going to be able to make the change with the county-run programs, with insurance companies, how do we get them to listen? That's number one. And then how do you guys, Dr. Robb and Adam in particular, how do we help, or how do you get your message to that long-term addict that's been out there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? How do we get to those people?
Well, first, let me take the first question. Maybe Adam can jump in and do the second. But the first one is nobody's listening, okay? And this is why nobody's listening. There's no profit in recovery. Correct. If the pharmaceutical company can't give you a pill, and like I said, there's selected 10% treatments like yours that are brilliant, but these are in it for money. Why are you allowing little Johnny to go into 6 or 7 times into your treatment center, paying $30,000 a month? How dare you? How do you sleep at night? The guys, no one's going to go into the parliament and not go to the government and go, hey, listen, we should try this. Well, where's the money in that? Oh, well, people are going to get well. So are they going to take meds? No, they're going to get well. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. Yeah, especially at the top level. We need somebody at the top level, somebody who's brave enough, strong enough, powerful enough to ride through it. And it's been tried before by many people, including myself. What we have to think about is education and dialogue. The problem with this country, and I'm an American citizen, I'm not bashing this country, guys, but the problem with this country is alcohol and drug addiction. The numbers around that are not true. They're not true. Well, how do I know that? Well, just little on me, went into a hospital with my team many years ago, Richardson Hospital, Dallas, Texas, and they were allowed to note anybody coming in. And 95% of people coming through the door that night of the emergency room had alcohol or drugs in the system. Out of that 95%, 27 were critical when they came through the door. Out of that 27, 4% died that night. No reports of alcohol or drugs. Car crash, liver failure. It's not being reported. Right. So until we start telling the truth to each other and start looking at the real numbers, which is really hard to get, look at the real numbers, then you start to realize that we have an epidemic on our hands. If you think the epidemic was bad with COVID, this is worse, man. I mean, it really is. People dying in the streets. Do you know how many people have died since we started this program? About 125. Right. Died of overdoses. Died because no one gives a shit. Died because it's in a 1-bedroom apartment with a needle in there. Nobody cares, guys. And we're going to change that. And you know, I've been doing this for the last 30 years. I've been trying to change it, and it's hard. And especially when I did the interview with Purdue on live TV, and the next day they filed for bankruptcy. Ever since that, my life has become a little bit hard. I'm not going to go into detail, but everybody wants to shut certain important people up so they don't talk about it. Well, guess what? I ain't going anywhere.
Right.
So I think that is the situation there. Can it be fixed? I think it can be fixed, but I don't think it's going to be in our lifetime, guys.
Correct.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
And I'll address the how, right? So let me pair up with Dr. Robb. It's actually, I'm not promoting us. I'm really just trying to say, like, it's actually the underneath vision of why we're doing this. I'll use 3 different examples. I'll try to make them short. And I'm not comparing myself to either of them, but myself, Mike Tyson, and Rocky 3, okay? I went to treatment and I wanted it. I wanted it. And I'm not exaggerating. Every single person in July of 2006 that came out with me died. Didn't relapse, died. Right? I have a friend named Nick Gagliano, who's Tyson's business manager and was there when Mike was preparing for Lennox Lewis, and Mike didn't want it. Mike didn't want it. He just wasn't into it. And he would have to bother him to train and annoy him to train and get into, right? Because he wasn't ignited from within, right? Mike Tyson, the guy. Then he does a comeback and he relights the flame. He relights the flame. And if you just study that in Rocky 3, right? Rocky comes, he fights Mr. T. He's really not taking it that seriously. He gets his ass kicked. Kind of has a reawakening, an aha moment, a bright light moment, a kick in the ass. He gets that flame relit, goes into with Apollo Creed and beats Mr. T. But you have to get the individual to want it.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Other than that, it's a lot of hoopla. You know what I mean? So you're going to have people, I doubt it, but let's just say within your own treatment, why did it work for them and it didn't work for them? This one came in as serious as a heart attack. Nobody is an anomaly. Nobody gets to, if you eat in a calorie deficit and you weight train and you take care of your cardiovascular system, you eat a certain amount, you will lose weight. If you eat in a calorie surplus and you lift a certain amount of weight, you will gain weight. If you do these protocols that Dr. Robb, you will gain success. No one's an anomaly. So really, you got to get to the individual. Mm-hmm. You just have to. Other than that, you could be spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
That's when statistics really start messing you up. Why did it work for them and not for them?
Yeah. Well, and I think we can't get stuck in so if I'm looking from the addict's perspective of the nobody gives a shit about me, BS. There's tons of us. Right. Every single one of us gentlemen on this have had a sponsor. Right. Matter of fact, I sent Adam a picture of his sponsor because I had a record of Dion in my mom's collection when I was going through it. So there's people that give a shit about us. You just have to want to reach out. And I'll tell you, people will give your time. I know, because I'm talking to 3 of my mentors right now that all gave me their time and love. So it's there. So when it comes back to it, I don't know, Flindt, I wonder if we need enough of us that are just like, politicians, screw you. We don't need you. We're going to do this without you. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, wait, you can do this without us? Yes, we can. And
we are. I mean, think about it. I mean, yes, we are. That's what we're doing right now. We're as much as I'm I don't know, fighting is the right word, but I'm trying to get across to these assholes in Sacramento. But we're still going to continue to do what we're doing to help that person that's out there that's struggling. End of story. Like you, Dr. Robb, I haven't been doing it as long as you, but I've been doing it about 16 years. And Jesus, I didn't get in this to make $1 million because I wasn't. Okay. I mean, this is about, and that brings up a good point too, I think, about us giving back. I love this. I can't tell you how thrilled I am knowing that there's other people out there and other men out there that are giving back, because when I started in AA 100 years ago and didn't make it, there was so much around, we have to keep this quiet. Okay, this is about anonymity. You don't want to tell everybody. I mean, they were almost telling us, just keep your mouth shut. Instead of going out and, hey, let's announce it to the world. I'm in recovery. I'm damn proud of what I've accomplished in recovery, like you gentlemen have. You know, why not share that with the world? Why not pass that on to the next individual? Let them know that there is hope out there. But along with that, saying, yeah, there's certain things we had to do to accomplish this, because this is not easy, especially in the beginning.
That's the question you got to ask. How bad do you want it? Like Adam says, how bad? That's why we do an assessment, okay? And if you don't pass the assessment, you don't come in. You know the story about Britney Spears, guys.
Yep.
You know, if you're not ready, you're not going to do it. And I know Adam does the same. It's like, you can't buy our services. You have to earn the services. So when we're talking about 90-something percent, 97% success rate, and people go, oh, that's just impossible. Why are you taking somebody in that's not ready? Why are you taking somebody in because the parents are, you get a big check out? Why are you doing that? That's why your percentage is a fucking 3%. That's why. Right. You know, this is not a fix-all. And then when you're being taught in treatment centers, let me teach about relapse prevention, and people are saying, counselors in treatment centers, that look, 20 people here and 17 are going to relapse. Why are we saying that? Why are we not teaching them the real deal, the real stuff? That if you've got an alcoholic and addict of the worst category, like me and Adam, I will guarantee, if you're ready, 100% that you can recover from that bullshit that you're going through. And again, you know, guys, if you come to us and you go out and you relapse or you don't like it, I'll refund your money. It's not about the money. This is about, there's a permanent way to recover. There's a permanent way to be successful. There's a permanent way to be the best father, the best husband, the best brother that one can be. And the quicker you turn to that, the easier. And once you have that spiritual awakening, you know, Uncle Jimmy, God, Spirit of the universe, Jesus, or anything else that you call, just has to be a higher power, stronger than me, and a psychic change, a change in your pathways, your DNA changes. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't want to change? Alcoholics and addicts, the only people that get 2 lives in one lifetime. You know, the only creature in the world is the butterfly. You know, the chrysalis, when it breaks up and the butterfly flows away, it's the only creature in the world where the DNA does not match between the butterfly and the chrysalis. It's the same thing when you go through this. It's the same thing what you'll see at weekend. Your DNA will not be the same. There'll be no match to that old person. There'll be no thought patterns back to that cycle of destruction. That'll be gone completely, permanent, period. Over. Boom! Let's go, guys!
And that's why I love them.
Isn't it right there?
That passion. Look, you know, I haven't met one person yet, sincerely, that has not been, not fame, but has not been affected by culture, right? Sure. I mean, and pop culture. I haven't met one. I could talk sports, I could talk music, I could talk entertainment with anybody. You know, one of the things that Dr. Robb, we can't break confidentiality, but it's known. One of the things that he doesn't talk about a lot is, if you look up the top 5 guitarists of all time, the top 5 rappers of all time, and the top 5 movie stars of all time, across the board, everyone agreeing that, you know, wherever you want to place him, Dr. Robb's helped somebody on that list to get clean. So, but more than that, to literally launch them back into their career. Mm-hmm. You know, like, getting clean and sober is wonderful. It's beautiful. It should never be downplayed. But that was it. He launched them back into their career where they reached new heights. Yeah. Right. That's what we want to do for people.
No, that's perfect, because like you said, you know, clean and sober, of course. I mean, that's what we all want. But there's so much more. Adam, I call it wasted talent. To me, there's nothing worse than wasted talent, because everybody has a talent somewhere, and I don't particularly give a shit what it is, you know, but they've got it. And who knows who could be the next a great golfer? Who knows who could be the next person that's going to, you know, cure cancer, whatever the case may be. Or maybe the guy that just wants to be a garbage man and be a good father. Okay, that's his talent, right? Don't waste that. God, I hate that when I'm dealing with kids that are, you know, everybody's a kid now and they're 40, but you know, all these people that they're just going about life doing nothing. Sure, they may be clean and sober, but okay, and that's a plus. Don't get me wrong, but there's just so much more.
They used to say to me, you know, years ago, I said, you could do this, and they went, oh, I can't be president. How's that? And laugh at me. We had a business to run the country, no political experience. Forget your political views. We had a business to run the country. And if you're not happy with that, alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with drugs, guys. I never had a drinking problem per se. I had a thinking problem. You see, I'm allergic to the ethanol in alcohol, and I have that mental obsession. You see, 3 parts of the brain differ from me to any other addiction: the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala. Childhood trauma is the gateway drug. You need to know these things if you're going to carry on and help people and change. And as a person who's struggling, even if you're clean and sober, you've got 2 or 3 years clean and sober, you recovered, great. What are you doing with your life? Did you get your daughters back? Did you buy that nice house you wanted? Did you buy that $1 million house you wanted? Or did you buy that apartment that you wanted? Did you do this with your life? Or are you just going to meetings to inspire other people? Because that's not the deal. We go to meetings to bear witness to the still suffering, and we are leaders. Listen, I've done so many studies on the brain, and I will categorically tell you now, I have never met an alcoholic or the brain that's a million times better to any other brain. You see the guys that don't drink, but they're in an alcoholic family, they're the guys running Google and Apple, by the way, geniuses. Look what we can achieve when our heads are messed up and cloudy, but when we get clean and sober and have direction and show who I really am. I didn't know who I was, I didn't know my identity. So I went through life just hoping that this was the best. When I was homeless, it was like, I'm just going to die on the street. I tried 7 times to die on the street because that was my lot. What I'm here to tell you is it's a lie. Yep. Man, the reason why you're going through any stuff in your life is experience. And my homelessness was like a semester at Harvard University, man. The stuff that I learned to become my greatest asset going forward, and that you honestly can do anything you want to do. But like Adam says, how bad you want it, and you're 100% ready. Because if you want what we have, you got to do what we do, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I love about us together, and I'm saying this from humility, right? So there's 2 ways of looking at it. You can say it can sound braggadocious, but I always taught humility is really showing the world what God's gifts are to you. Humility is not what I think it was, which was Christopher Reeve's version of Clark Kent going, "Oh, gee, shucks, Lois," but then catching a bullet and then winking at somebody. You know what I mean? That's actually called passive aggressive behavior. You know what I mean? Right. And then whacking. You know what I mean? But humility is really showing what God's gifts are to you. And one thing that Dr. Robb and I have been able to do time and time again is when somebody really is just calling for something new, they're dying for something new, we are able to ignite that flame and get them to do what they always want to do. Yep. There's a lot of fear that we have to overcome. There's a lot of old stories. He's a master, and I use that word very seriously, a master at cracking old trauma. That's something I like to play with lightly. You know what I mean? When it comes to trauma, I'll pass them to a doctor. You know what I mean? I'm good at being Phil Jackson. I'll coach you victory. Trauma, go to a doctor. Don't go to some life coach. Do me a favor.
Right. And
we put that stuff together and you're going to succeed time and time again.
Yeah. Well, it's that must get across that the only way, if you don't deal with this, it's going to continue to deal with you. And the only way through it is to go through and confront it. And we have to. We just have to.
I mean, that's the key to life, Any person going through depression, going through childhood trauma, any addiction, you're doing it for a reason, man. You've got to push through. I forget who says if you find yourself in hell, it might have even been, I don't know. Just keep going, man. Keep going. There's a reason why you're there. Right. Okay. And if you invest in yourself, then you can invest in other people. Remember the airplane thing when the mask comes down, they tell you to put it on yourself first before you can help anybody else. You get these guys and girls and they're running around and they're keeping busy helping other people, but who's looking after you? What's your identity person? God either is or he isn't, says that book. And I love that book. He is either is or he isn't. What's your choice to be? Gives us a choice. I don't know too much. I think I'll try it on my own again and just try and get that job that I don't really like. And I'll celebrate, hump day and TFI. And what? That's not living.
Right.
If you get your nerves and depression on a Sunday night because you're going to work Monday morning, get another job. If you're arguing with your wife every night, and get another wife. And people go, oh, Dr. Robb, it's not that easy. It really is that easy, guys. Because I can tell you, I'm 62 years of age now, and I have a lot of regret, and I want to pass this on to other people. You don't want to be sat there at my age or 70 or 80 thinking, if only.
Right.
Do it. Because most of the people we interviewed on deathbeds said to us one sentence, man, I thought I had more time. You don't have time. Date that girl, buy that house, work with another person, create an empire. Anybody can build a business. Oh, here's a domain name and a business card. Good luck with your business. On business, you can build empires. That's what you can build. Empires. And don't ever, ever, ever tell anybody that you can't, because there's two kinds of people in this world, guys. The guys that love you for who you are and support you, and the guys that want to be you.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah,
Amen.
I agree. And just going back to trauma for a little bit, I also believe, because I had these numerous surgeries as a kid, from the time I was born to the time I was 13. I had a surgery a year. I've had 4 more in 1976. I've had 22 since then. And I'm going to have a couple more. But I did learn this a long time ago when it comes to trauma. I almost started embracing it. And what happened is that I remember my mom was a teacher, and the thing that happened to me, what isn't real common, but she was teaching with another younger teacher who's just had a son. This little boy was about 4 years old, and he was born with the same ailment that I had. And my mom called me one day, and she says, the little boy's over at Valley Children's Hospital. Is there any way you can go over and talk to the mom and the little boy? And all of a sudden it just dawned on me, and this is well before I started this. And I said, yeah, okay. And I went over there. I don't remember the kid's name. I don't remember the mom's name, but I talked to them about that I had the same issue, assured them that this was not the end of the world. All right. That he's going to be okay. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. As I'm walking out of that hospital to go to my car, all of a sudden it just dawned on me, call it a spiritual awakening, a voice, whatever, said, that's why this happened to you. So you could help this little boy and this mother.
Amen.
And it was like, now there's people that'll say, well, no, it shouldn't have happened to you. Well, guess what? It happened. Okay. It happened. And I got that opportunity to ensure this other family that it's going to be okay. And I think so. And sometimes I'm kind of different. I take trauma, and sometimes I'll put it on the back shelf. Sometimes I won't forget about it, or I'll forget about it and not give a damn anymore. But I also think it's very important that at some point we all have to address that trauma. All right. And like you said, Adam, it's got to be with somebody that understands trauma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, one thing that bothers me the most about this social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok world, it's when I see these young kids that have massive followings saying, I'll help you with your trauma. And I'm like, man, where do you get the balls?
Right.
Where do you get the balls? You know what I mean? You went to a Tony Robbins conference.
Right.
You know what I mean? I love Tony. I'm one of his biggest advocates, but that doesn't give you got to go to a doctor. You got to do. And Dr. Robb said something that's so powerful. He was going back to when you comes to believing yourself, God either is or isn't. And so many people that we all deal with, they either want God to be him, Superman, come save me, or Santa Claus, please give me what I want.
Yeah.
No, what Dr. Robb and I want to install is those two things are inside of you. That Superman thing, that Santa Claus, those are inside of you. Now let's link you up spiritually.
Right.
Now let's link you. I mean, don't ask to save me, and don't ask like a genie in the lamp. What can I have?
God's not a bank.
God's not a bank. He's not a genie. He's not Santa Claus, and he's not Superman. But he's inside of you. Now let's let him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
He's waiting, guys. That's what it is. I mean, listen, I'll tell you a story that he just come to me on stage one day. I've forgotten all about it. But as a kid, 6 or 7, 8 years old, used to be a show in England on Sunday night. It was the top 20 countdown. And you could call in for a request, man. And one day after about a year, I got enough courage to run downstairs to the phone that's attached to the wall. And I call the radio station and I'm like, oh, can you play a request? Yeah, what is it? Anything, just for Robert in Manchester, please. And I put the phone down. Oh no, I said, will it be played today? It's on the list. It's on the request list. It's going to be paid. Don't worry. Put the phone down. I ran it them stairs on this little tiny radio, all spent out of cupboard, with this huge battery stolen from work. And I sat by that transistor radio for hours. And about 30 minutes before the show finished, he finally come on. He went, okay, this comes out for Robert in Manchester. And I think they played ABBA or something. I don't know what it was. And I was absolutely as happy as if I won the lottery. What I found going forward is it's like that with God. When you put your request in, you know it's going to be played. It's on his playlist. You just don't know when. So if you're going through some shit, keep pushing through because he's got some great things for you. And remember, it's not about you. Take it on the chin, learn your Harvard University with your past and take it as one of the best things moving forward so that you can help people. And I think once we start doing that, the world will become better. Once people see that genuine instead of the hate, you want to solve 90% of your fear. Turn the TV off for a week.
No kidding. Yeah.
Gone. Finished. We don't watch the news and nothing. It's just like everybody wants us in fear today. That fear that they wanted me in tied straight back to my childhood trauma. You see, what I do here does not correlate to what happened there as a child. Mm-hmm. It does not. You need a specialist to go back and free you of that. Because that's what happens when people are only at about 75% of the capability, trauma. But it can't always be trauma, Dr. Robb. Trauma. Childhood trauma, period. It messes with the brain, it redirects the basal ganglia. What happens with alcoholics and addicts is, remember, it's a clock. Get the wife back, the kids back, everyone's happy, you've got the job, bang! We self-sabotage. Childhood trauma, that's what it is. We don't think we're good enough and things start to get right. And girls suffer from this, that if they see violence in the house, with dad, and he comes home from the bar every night and hits mom, she's going to grow up to attract the guy that's an alcoholic and ends up beating her. To the extent that if she attracts a nice guy, she will self-sabotage that relationship because it doesn't feel good and normal to her.
Yep. Well, and there's a lot of different tools, of course, and this is one I stole from Dr. Robb. And I don't know if you remember this challenge. It's the compliment shoes challenge, but Dr. Robb knew that I did some work in sex and love addiction. So he said, you can't compliment women's shoes because all I needed was some gal. Oh, thank you. But seriously, this is a challenge. Try it. Like, you see some guy that's got a cool pair of tennis shoes, tell him and watch what exchange you start to get out of these good, positive things. And it's a good example of how we can just begin that. Like, I thought you're full of shit, doc. And then I did it. And I'm like, wow, I feel really good about myself. That kid turned around and smiled at me and said, thank you very much. And then eventually it happened to me. I was like, whoa, okay.
Well, things that we don't think is good enough to change somebody's life. We think if I say that, I'm going to sound stupid. I had a girl once with me, a patient, and she was coming to the end and she joined this company the board was full of 30 guys and she was the only woman. And she had about 3 board meetings. No one recognized. Nobody said anything to her. People walked past her and she said, I don't know what to do. Dr. Robb, can you help me? And I said, yeah, when you go in tomorrow to the board meeting, ask a question. Well, what do you mean ask a question? What about? Anything. What do you mean? Anything. Just ask a question. Hey, boss, I see that them shoes are nice. Where'd you get them from? She did it the next day. And from then on, everybody knew her name. Mm-hmm. We don't think we can help somebody with the small things, but that's what matters. Because in my experience, nobody tells each other, oh, yeah, Jason he's a mate. Yeah, he already knows. I mean, well, why don't you tell him? Oh, yeah, nobody knows. So start telling people, start complimenting people, start realizing the greatness around you. If you've got great people around you, you will be led into greatness. If you've got 9 depressed people, you will become the 10th. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You can pull through anything. You can aspire to anything. Science tells us so. The body works that way. Every neuropathway to success is already built. The central nervous system with the trauma can be calmed down, and you, for the first time in your life, become that niche where you know where you fit in on this earth, and there's no better feeling.
Absolutely agree.
And repetition is the mother and father of mastery, right? Yeah. So you come to the conference and you understand the neuroscience behind all of this. and we have you walk out, and you're going to start complimenting, and you're going to start making other people feel good. And you're going to understand, like, I can't talk about the brain the way Dr. Robb does, but you'll understand why this is feeling good, right? And you repeat, and it's a process. It's not a process. It's a process. And before you know it, you don't know why your life is so good. You have no idea why, but you change, like he says, you change your DNA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. We'll throw it in the podcast description. Of course, the website, the Neuro Hero Conference.com. Check it out, people. Question I want to leave with, guys. What's one thing you really want people to get out of this conference? Adam, start with you.
Wow. The one thing that I would want people to walk out of this conference is truly understanding that dream, that vision, that inner hero was always inside of them. And that it took just a little bit of coaching and a doctor to understand the science behind it to ignite that flame, that they walk out and it wasn't a rah-rah speech.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that they put the book down and they're still the same person. They walk out literally a different person. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Dr. Robb, what about you?
I want people to find their identity, their true identity. And I want people to walk out after 2 days with the permanent mindset, not temporary, permanent mindset that you have to change the world on a daily basis. Because if we don't leave people that can go out of that conference and change the world, what are we doing? We're just two guys on stage talking crap for a couple of hours. There has to be a change. Find your identity, and everything Adam says, with permanent thought patterns to go out, with the quantum physics to back it up, and achieve what you was always meant to achieve.
Nice.
Mr. Andersen.
Guys, this has been amazing. Seriously. It's first of all, it's so good to see you guys again. I just get the biggest thrill out of talking to both of you. I appreciate everything you're doing in the recovery community. I tell people about you guys all the time, and just keep doing what you're doing, because it is simply wonderful. And I love you guys. I truly do, man. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, man, I got to say before you press that button, guys, that me and Adam were talking before, and we're in awe of you guys. We're in awe of you guys for everything that you do to help people. We just love you guys. I mean, sometimes it gets a bit lonely, this recovery, leadership, but you guys have stood there. You're doing what you're doing. We love you. We just think you're amazing. So thank you for having us on, and thank you for doing what you're doing, man. Because to these guys over here, especially this old guy, it's not going unnoticed, and it blesses my heart every time I see you guys together. Blesses my heart. Thanks for having us on.
Amen. Amen. Very grateful, guys. I just double what Dr. Robb said. No more necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Robb.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.